Bluff City Media presents Tigers Live with Francis Carlota. Join Francis after every Memphis Tiger game as he breaks down each matchup, player of the game, and upcoming games. Now, let's get to the show.
What's going on, y'all? Tigers Live after the Memphis Tigers beat Clemson on the road, the number 16 ranked Clemson Tigers, 87-82. Let's do it. Let's talk about this game, man. This was awesome. Kenny Stubblefield's here. We'll be joined by Roman Cleary as well in a moment. Kenny, how you feeling? Good win, baby.
Man, it was a great win. I said it on Twitter. College basketball is pure and utter chaos, and it is. It is a chaos game. I love it. It infuriates me. It drives me crazy. There's things that happen that make me just want to pull the little bit of hair that I have. I'll pull my beard hair out.
Yeah, pull your beard.
It just drives me crazy. But then things happen. Things go down, and you're like, hell yeah, I'm all in. I'm all in. I love this game so much.
This is what sports does to you, you know.
Yeah,
like as
man.
people who love sports, this is what this damn thing does to you. It every time it'll give you moments where you just wonder why you care about sports in the first place. Like it'll happen, and then you'll have moments like this that'll suck you right back in.
Yeah, man.
Yeah, that was
shout out to Paris Sharkey. Go Tigers, go MFers. That's what I'm talking about.
Let's go, Let's go, man. Yeah, that was freaking awesome. Great stuff. Again, Memphis Tigers beat the Clemson Tigers 87-82. I am Francis Carlota, host of Tigers Live for Bluff City Media. That's Kenny Stubblefield. We'll be joined by Roman Cleary in just a moment whenever he gets on the stream. But y'all, shout out to everyone in the comments. Thank you to everyone for being here. Be sure to subscribe to Bluff City Media, like the show, everything, comment, say what's up. Yeah, I love seeing the positivity. And I think Roman's in here now.
Marcus Jackson said amazing win, but a 10 a.m. tip-off in Memphis is way too early. Yeah, that was weird. That was weird.
Hey,
and we can't even talk because you're in Cali.
Yeah, don't do that. I'm in San Diego. I woke up. I slept through my alarms, Kenny, so that was a mistake.
Yeah.
And I was rolling out of bed like you know, yawning and everything. Early game, but yeah, we're here.
Let's get Roman in here, man. What's up, Roman?
Man, Francis, do you remember the first thing I said in the brief few minutes that we talked about this game during the Arkansas State recap? Remember the first thing I said? I said I wouldn't be shocked. I wouldn't be shocked whatsoever if they won this one. And that's exactly what happened here today. On Sunday, I think a lot of people across the board were reminded of the start of the downfall from last season. But today, you know what I'm reminded of today? Today, I'm reminded of when Memphis lost to Murray State in 21-22.
Wow.
Only to come back and beat Alabama. This feels eerily similar to that to me.
Dude.
I love that.
Yeah, Roman's brain is firing on 100 cylinders right now. I love that.
That's what I'm reminded of today. Huge win for Memphis, to say the least. 7 threes from Tyrese Hunter is absolutely huge. Getting him back into the flow of things after the bad game he had against the Red Wolves was pretty necessary, and that's what happened. I mean, Haggerty had his struggles, and the fact that they're able to win in spite of that is a pretty big indictment as well. So, yeah, overall, big win for Memphis. 4th quad 1 win in 10 games. I mean, there's not much to complain about here.
Yeah, I mean, how about the resume that Memphis is building thus far? Again, we know what happened against Arkansas State. We know we don't need to rehash it. We can do what Penny Hardaway did and throw the film away, not even show the film to the team. Let's throw that in the trash. This resume Memphis is building is looking pretty damn good. And as I keep reiterating, they had big games after this. Like, the grind don't stop. They go at Virginia, then Mississippi State or Ole Miss, then Mississippi State. Or do I have those flipped? I may have them flipped in my head.
Mississippi State, then Ole Miss.
Mississippi State's on the 21st, and you have Ole Miss on the 28th. So
okay. Yeah, so this was a huge win to get this 4-game stretch going in a positive direction. We were texting in our group chat before the game, and I asked y'all, what are the odds Memphis goes 3-1 on this road trip? Yeah. And Kenny, old Debbie Downer, said 45%. 40 Debbie Downer, Kenny.
No, what I was doing was I was saying 45%, which is what the Tigers shoot from the 3-point line, and I was trying to trying to let me dig my way out of that hole, right? Yeah. Let me dig my way out.
Nice try. Yeah, good try, Kenny. But yeah, this game set the tone. Hopefully will set the tone for the next 3 games. So obviously they still got to play them, but the hope is that this will set the tone. I know that the getting off to early starts is huge for this team. And so we can start there. Memphis got off to an awesome start against Clemson today, and they seem to, shake off the rust of what happened against Arkansas State, especially from 3. They were hitting the threes early on. Roman, either of you, what did y'all like from Memphis early on that kind of gave y'all hope that they can get this job done?
Well, I mean, to put things simply, they came out with urgency. Yeah. They came out playing like this was a game that they didn't necessarily had to win, but it would be really nice to win, especially coming off of the Arkansas State game. They were very active defensively. They were, beating Clemson pretty badly on the boards. I mean, they got out 10-0 to start this game for a reason. Clemson didn't score for the first 5 minutes and 44 seconds. Now, I mean, the only, bad part of that was that, the turnovers in the first half eventually caught up with Memphis, and that's how Clemson was able to get back in the game. But that start that Memphis had, I think, really set the tone, even though it didn't really count for much later on. It still pretty much set the tone of, hey, Memphis is not going to be going away in this one. This is going to be a fight for Clemson, and that's what it obviously proved to be.
Well, and I would hope that it would also send a message to Tiger fans and say, this team isn't going anywhere. What a bounce back first couple of minutes to go up on the road, 10-0, coming out with that urgency I think urgency is the perfect word that you described it, Roman. I think that's the perfect word. And just kind of proving that, hey man, I've had a lot of things to say about Tiger fans this week. I think that there is a level of just Tiger fans willing to let go of the rope. And to me, that initial start to the first half said, man, this team's still here and they're not going anywhere, right? Like there's going to be this is college basketball. There's going to be some ebbs and flows in games, but the way that they came out the game, with that urgency and with that, very clear, we're not letting go of the rope on this season, on whatever you want to describe it. We're here. And I really appreciated that.
And how about another really good coaching job by Penny Hardaway today in terms of player management, game management. Jordan and Cisse had 2 early fouls, and I had them clocked in at 2 fouls at the under 8 media timeout, and he still played Cisse for a good amount of time, even with some early foul trouble, and he trusted Cisse. He did a great job of staying out of foul trouble, and he ended up fouling out. But I think this was another good job by Penny Hardaway managing lineups. I don't know the minute split off the top of my head, but do y'all think that that's a fair opinion to have from what y'all saw of the game?
Yeah, I'm taking a look at it right now.
Have they released that yet, Roman? I don't.
Yeah, you had 41 minutes for Tyrese Hunter, 44 for PJ Haggerty, 40 for Colby Rogers, 37 for Danger, and Musa played 24, but he of course fouled out. Pretty in the middle of regulation. Danger had 28. And you had Barako Koje and PJ Carter playing for 6 and 4, respectively.
Wait, did PJ actually got in the game? I didn't see that.
Yeah, PJ Carter played for 6 minutes.
Okay. Yeah, I think that is one of the biggest things, and we've talked about this numerous times on Tigers Live this year, is the growth that we've seen in Penny Hardaway as a head coach. And one of the main ways to do that is how to massage the game, right? Like as a coach, how do you massage the game well? And one of the main ways that a coach can do that in a game is massaging fouls, is massaging playing time around fouls. I'm going to stop saying the word massaging. But
don't be Deshaun Watson over here.
Yeah. They call me, that's not my nickname for no reason. But no, I think that it's so interesting to me the way that he's able to. He has done very good at that. He's become very good at that of being able to, manipulate the game in such a way to where he's playing his guys, but he's also not fouling them out. That is a tough line to walk, and he's done it really well.
Yeah, absolutely. He also doesn't really have a choice but to do it really well.
He has to.
He doesn't have a choice. He has to manage his team. He has to manage the foul trouble. He has to manage the ebbs and flows. I know we, like you said, we talk about Penny all the time. This has to be Penny's best head coaching season because of the roster that he has.
Yeah.
And if Memphis does find a way to win the conference, make the NCAA tournament, make noise in March, Penny Hardaway will be why, because he would have done a phenomenal job coaching this basketball team. And that's a long way away. That we still got a lot of time before that happens. But yeah, I think Penny did a great job today thus far. Another thing I like
Francis,
too,
real quick before we move on, I need to handle some BCM business for 1 second. I'm about to fire somebody on air.
I saw it. I was waiting for it.
I'm about to fire somebody on air. We have a little show that it's a live post game show. I think it's like Grizz 910 something, hosted by a guy named Daniel Greer, right? And Daniel came on the show last night after the Grizzlies beat Brooklyn, wearing a Duke shirt. All right, wearing a Duke shirt. And then today he's in the chat going, also go Duke. We need to make a decision here. I'm gonna make some phone calls while we're on this show. He might be out of a job. That's what I'm gonna say.
Oh man,
this is your second on-air firing, Kenny.
Yeah, is this
fired Trey Lastly?
Yeah, fire Trey Lastly.
Firing Daniel Greer.
Now Daniel Greer
rehired Trey though mid-air, so it was a rehire really quickly.
Right, I did bring Trey back, but Daniel's been suspended. He's suspended. He's
okay.
No, I love Daniel. Sorry, keep it going.
No,
we're good.
You're good. You're good. The next point I was going to bring up was this. I thought Memphis was in control really from the start of the game. Clemson didn't really have sustained periods of time where they looked to be in control of this game. I thought Memphis had the full control the whole time. Whenever Clemson would try and punch back and fight back, I think Memphis did a great job answering. Another good example, the transition into the second half was that Tyrese Hunter stealing 3 to close the first half.
Yeah.
When you saw Clemson, they took their first leads of the game late on the first half, and you kind of thought, okay, here's the number 16 team in the nation at home. They're waking up a little bit, and then Tyrese does his thing. He forces a good steal, hits a transition 3 to close the half, and then Memphis goes into half up 1.
Yeah.
And you know what happened from the start of the second half too. Memphis won another run to start the second half, and they just seem to always have control of the game. So talk to me about how great of an answer this was from Memphis to respond with this type of effort and energy after Arkansas State.
I mean, we've kind of rehashed it from the start. Like, again, this was obviously just a huge game for, resume bolstering purposes. Penny talked about that with me pretty directly when I asked him about it, how big of a 4-game stretch this is going to be. I think I, verbatim asked him, how much of a season defining stretch this was going to be. And he talked all about how, games like this were important for seeding in the NCAA tournament because, lack of respect in the AAC and what have you. But this was also just an opportunity to really make a statement after losing to Arkansas State, just to prove to everyone across the world and around the country, not just in Memphis, that, hey, this Memphis team isn't like last year's. It's not going anywhere. They have big aspirations to do bigger things this year. And, obviously winning this game puts a pretty big stamp on that in and of itself. But also, like you mentioned, the effort and the urgency and the energy they played with specifically also proves that as well, especially responding after Clemson makes those big runs in the second half. Memphis started out with a 7-0 run in the second half, only for Clemson to take the lead just a few minutes later. Then Memphis goes back up by like 6 or 7 with 5 minutes or so to go, only for Clemson to take the lead again. But, Danger hits that big layup to tie the game in overtime. And then, Memphis obviously wins out in the overtime period as well. Just, consistent, never-ending, never-stopping toughness and grittiness and energy. It just seems like Memphis was in a mindset where they weren't going to let themselves lose this game today. And they were rewarded for that subsequently.
Yeah, no doubt. I mean, I think obviously in any basketball game, you hear commentators talk and they talk about how do you start a game or how do you start a half and end a half, right? And I think you could say the Tigers really knocked all 4 of those time periods out of the water today. I mean, they did a great job, obviously starting off 10-0. And then the game happens, right? Things happen, streaks are made, runs are made. Clemson takes the lead. Clemson is right there with them. Tyrese Hunter hits that 3-pointer at the buzzer of the first half to put them up by 1, and then they, like Roman said, they go on a 7-0 run, and Clemson doesn't take the lead back until 11 minutes left in the game, and then it just is once again just those ebbs and flows of the game where, man, you have to know when you're in a hostile environment that a place where, and I'm not a big fan of basketball math, but a place where Kentucky, one of the top teams in the country, couldn't beat Clemson, when they came into the what is it, Littlejohn's? What is it called?
Something like that. I can't remember.
It's Littlejohn Coliseum.
Littlejohn Coliseum,
and that is named after a real person, by the way. That's not like a company or a sponsor.
Is that from Robin Hood, Littlejohn? Robin Hood, Littlejohn?
No. I think it's like a former Clemson player or something like that.
Wow, man, dude, I want to do something so well they name a stadium after me.
The Stubblefield Arena.
Stubblefield Arena. That's too long. That's too long of a name. Yeah, that's too much.
Stubblefield Stadium.
Hey, good. I like it.
Yeah,
I like it.
That's.
But no, I it is obviously, the way that they punched first in the first half, punched first in the second half, and then just continued to fight, continued to battle, continued to, when there was a moment, and I know we always do our moments of the game, but for me, a big moment was with about 10 minutes and 42 seconds left in the second half. Baraka Okogie came in to rest Tyrese, or I think maybe it was, I can't remember if it was Tyrese or PJ, came in, ISO'd the ball at the top at the wing, drove against Chase Hunter and got fouled and won. Missed the free throw. PJ got it back and won, made the jumper or made the free throw. That was a huge swing. Like that was a Clemson's. I know a lot of folks don't believe in momentum. I'm a big believer in momentum. I think momentum is a real thing, especially in college sports, especially in college basketball. And I think that was one of those, like, where momentum was starting to swing, and then to an unlikely player in Baraka Okogie and an unlikely play in PJ Haggerty re-swung that momentum back to the Tigers. That was a big deal. It's big.
Yeah. PJ Haggerty's rebounding was huge in this game.
Yeah.
Like I don't think he led the team in rebounding or anything, but the individual offensive.
He tied for it, Roman.
He had 8. Yeah.
He tied for it with Musa. Yeah.
Okay. All right. But the individual offensive rebounds that he was able to notch in this game, the first one being in the second half, I believe, where he finishes through contact to get that and one that pushes the lead back up to 6 or 7 for Memphis there when they were starting to lose it. And then, of course, the offensive rebound that leads to the wide open Tyrese Hunter 3 that put Memphis in front in overtime. I mean, Haggerty wasn't obviously at his best in terms of scoring today, but he still brought a lot of effort, a lot of energy, and really ruled on the defensive and offensive glass in this one for sure for Memphis.
Yeah,
I wanted to ask y'all, what are y'all's thoughts about that? Like, PJ ended the game with, I think he had 12 points. He had 6 assists, 8 rebounds, shot 3 of 10 from the floor, was an 0 from the 3-point line. Didn't shoot free throws all that much just because he didn't really take a whole lot of shots in this game. And it was very clear Clemson had game planned to shut PJ's drives to the basket down. They were focused entirely on him. And so the ability to adjust by, number one, not just by Penny, but by PJ as well, to become a facilitator more so than a ball dominant, shooter. How big is that for this Tigers team moving forward? Because that you have to know that's going to be a game plan moving forward.
I mean, it's huge.
I mean, I think you can see it multiple times. I mean, you can game plan to stop PJ Haggerty from driving all day long, but at the end of the day, this team has multiple guys in Tyrese Hunter and Colby Rogers and Nick Jourdain at times, multiple individuals who can make you pay from the 3-point line. I mean, there's a reason why Memphis is still the number 2 or number 3 team in the country in 3-point shooting percentage. I'm thinking less and less that it's less of a fluke and more of just the reality of the situation.
It's not a fluke. Yeah.
This is a really, really good 3-point shooting team. I I mean, Tyrese Hunter's volume is increased, and he's having the best shooting season of his career. Colby Rogers, I think, is still having the best shooting season of his career, and that's saying
in a career that has been an unbelievable career of 3-point shooting. Yes.
Yeah, and that's saying something. I mean, PJ Haggerty didn't hit his opportunities from 3 today, but he's been very good. I know from the perimeter. Nick Jourdain has proven to be consistent when he's needed to take shots from 3. Like when you have the guys that Memphis has that can make you pay from the perimeter, it just makes, game planning to shut down, drives to the basket less effective overall. And we saw that today, obviously.
Yeah, there was a comment real quick. I'm sorry, Francis. Let me find it. Oh, here it is. 2 times said, I think we shifted to a basketball team that shares the basketball, and that feels dangerous. And that, when I read that is exactly what I think Roman is talking about with this PJ Haggerty, development of them trying to stop his drives to the basket. Is you saw a lot of pass swing type of plays in today's game where the ball was, hey, Nick Jourdain had a good shot, and he's a willing 3-point shooter and can make them. But what does he do? Gets it and swings it, boom, directly to Tyrese in the corner and hits a massive 3-point shot for the Tigers. So, yeah, I think I think the willingness to share the basketball is a real serious development for this Tigers team this year.
Well, I mean, 2 things. One, that's what basketball is about, y'all. If you can't score, and that's your thing is you're a scorer like PJ Haggerty is, one of the best in the country, and you can't score on your given day, you got to find other ways to impact winning. That's basketball, y'all. Yeah. That's what PJ Haggerty did today. He found other ways to impact winning the game of basketball. He had I think, what do you say, Kenny? 6 assists, 8 rebounds.
Yep.
And that's huge. All of those plays are winning plays, and that's what PJ Haggerty was still able to do. Make winning plays, even though he wasn't his best scoring the basketball. And 2, you hear Penny talk about it a lot. He wants his team to average 20 assists per game. That's
17 today. So
17 today. And like for the season, they averaged 12.6. So, they're not where Penny wants them to be at with assists per game. But with 17 assists today, it was clear that it was a concerted effort to move the ball, because Clemson, again, credit Clemson, they did a great job, as you pointed out, Roman, shutting the water off in terms of drives to the paint for PJ and Tyrese. And Colby was able to take advantage of maybe being the forgotten guard of the big 3 of the guards that Memphis has, and was able to be amazing with his jump shot and from deep as well. I mean, I talked about it all the time. When Colby gets into his rhythm and he gets to his spot, you can just literally chalk up 2 points or 3 points, wherever it's at, because Colby is such a cold-blooded shooter. That guy can shoot the basketball. His release is basically unblockable, uncontestable. It's so high, and he's always in balance. I love seeing when shooters are playing or shooting with balance. Colby's always in balance, no matter if it's a turnaround, whether it's a fadeaway, whatever. Colby's an always balanced shooter. So it was awesome to see him ball out today. Speaking of Colby, who'd be y'all's player of the game today?
I mean,
nice segue.
I still think it has to be Tyrese Hunter overall. I mean, 7 3-pointers is ridiculous. I mean, Colby, it's tough not to give him this one here, but what Tyrese did in overtime, I think you have to give the edge to him here.
All right, I'm gonna go. I'm gonna vote, and then we'll let Francis be the final vote. My vote is for Colby Rogers, because for a multitude of reasons. Number one, it definitely felt like Tyrese's shot came in waves, right? Like shot came in waves. Like his 3 points came in waves during certain parts of the game. Colby absolutely righted and steadied the ship throughout the middle parts of that first and second half where Clemson was making their runs. There were multiple possessions where it felt like Colby's points that he scored, his jumpers that he made, were they stemmed the momentum for Clemson. They flipped it back to Memphis. And so for me, I would say it would be Colby Rogers is the player of the game, because of the way that he kept the game afloat for the Tigers when they were about to go off the track.
All right, I'll be the deciding judge of this panel, and I'm also going to give it to Colby Rogers. So as awesome as Tyrese was, and Roman, I can't look. You're the man, and Tyrese was awesome.
Against the dude hit 7 3-pointers.
It's a fair point, Roman.
No, I get it. I hear you.
It's a fair point. It's a fair point.
Yeah, I hear you. Tyrese was awesome today. I hear you, but I'm with Kenny for the reasons that he brought up with Colby's shot. I don't know if you all have seen the.
I'm also fine with co-MVP. I'm also fine with that, Timo.
All right,
I'm also fine with that.
Yeah, if we want,
but like this is a scenario where we have to pick one. If we had, to, I guess.
If we had to pick one, I'm picking Colby, just because the threes that he hit were at such pivotal moments. I mean, Memphis was down 5 with about how many seconds they have left in the second half. Let me see. I had it written down somewhere. 50. Oh gosh, I'm missing it. But they were down 5 with like 50 seconds left, like a minute left in the game.
I also want to say that Tyrese was probably better defensively as well. He made more plays on that end.
Tyrese was a fantastic defender today. Yes.
Yeah. So,
50 seconds left. 50 seconds left. Colby Rogers made a 3. Put them. They were down by 5. It went 72-70. Clemson. Yep.
But at the end of the day, they don't win the game without either of them. So this really is a pointless debate. But
Isn't that what most sports debates are? Is pointless debates. We just like to talk.
But I'm just saying, like, it's just hard to vote against the dude who made multiple incredible plays defensively and hit 7 3-pointers.
I hear you.
Hey, your logic is sound. I'm gonna give it to Jared Harris. For no.
No, I just the threes that Colby hit, I thought were just monumental, and I can't get over the 3 he hit to cut it to 2, down 5. If he misses that corner 3, this game's over. And this is what people say about great shooters, clutch shooters, not just great shooters, clutch shooters. They don't just want the ball when they're trying to win the game. They want the ball to cut a 5-point lead to 2, to cut a 4-point lead to 1. Like they want those moments. Obviously, Tyrese does too, PJ does too. But I just got to give it to Colby for the threes that he hit today. And he really was, like Kenny said, consistent throughout the entire game. So I'm going to give it to Colby Rogers myself. But I hear you, Roman.
I don't think Roman is wrong. I don't think he's wrong at all.
Yeah,
no one's wrong here at the end of the day. I mean, Colby was fantastic to give him his flowers. His mid-range shot is so pure.
It's cold, man.
It's the purest mid-range Memphis has had since Landers was here a few years ago.
Dude, you ain't never lied, man. That thing is so beautiful. I love mid-range basketball. I love it. And it's kind of gone away in the NBA game a little bit. It's coming back, but I love it. I love the way he shoots the ball from the mid-range. Timo is agreeing with you, Roman. He said, man, true. Tyrese made like 3 or 4 different winning plays on defense. Let's not forget that block on Locken, dude. That got overlooked on the broadcast. That was like the Tiger fans are still talking about Joe Jackson blocking the Gonzaga dude. Remember that from a few years ago? That was times 100 for me.
I'm not a guy who likes to do this, but like the commentators drank 5 packs of the Clemson Kool-Aid hours before this game started. I just have to be honest. Like I like.
They were so bad.
I'm not that guy. I really don't want to be that guy a lot, but like, come on, man.
It was pretty gross. But no, it got completely overlooked. They started praising Chase Hunter for picking the ball up after Tyrese Hunter, a 6-foot guard, blocked a footer at the rim. Like, it was crazy. But no, Tyrese made, and then the strip on Hunter, the dive on the floor, all of that. Yeah, man, that block on Locken should go down in Tiger lore, I think, in terms of just individual defensive plays. It is funny to me. Like, I just love college basketball. College sports are so crazy to me. Like, you play Clemson, who's not in your conference, but things stay the same. How many times over the years have we seen Penny Hardaway game plan a Cincinnati game where he's basically said, Victor Locken, do what you will.
Yep.
Do what you will.
But no, they're not going to let Ian Shefflin get nothing.
He got nothing.
Chauncey Wiggins scored 19 in last year's matchup with Memphis. I don't think he got anything today. So, I mean, shut down the guys who are going to hurt you the most and let dudes like Victor Locken just have a good stat sheet. Because, like, it was the same thing against Cincinnati as well. didn't want to let Cumberland, I believe, get his shots off in those games. Let Locken go off, and it was kind of the same principle here.
Dude, your memory is fantastic, Roman.
That's Earl's the man. Earl's the man.
Awesome. That's awesome. Yeah. No, Chauncey Wiggins had 0 points. He was 0 for today. He had 1 assist and 2 turnovers. That man was in the mud all day long. And he's a 6'10" wing player, man. And he's talented. Is that what's his name? Wiggins' brother? Isn't that his brother?
I don't know.
Andrew. Isn't that Andrew Wiggins' brother?
I don't know. It would make sense.
I don't know.
I think
it would make sense.
I think I remember seeing that last year. Maybe I'm wrong, but no, yeah. I mean, like Ian Shefflin, he did his thing, but he had 6 rebounds, man. 6 rebounds in the entire game. Chase Hunter had 17 points, but it was
they are not related.
They are not related. Okay. I thought I heard they were related last year. But yeah, it was very clear. Penny was targeting or was just saying, hey, basically give Victor Locken whatever he wants. And it worked out again. I mean, how many times has that worked for Penny Hardaway's teams against Cincinnati when he was there?
Well,
right?
3 now because they beat Cincinnati twice in 22-23. And they've beaten another Victor Locken-led performance today. So.
Yeah. Well, how about, Kenny, you mentioned the rebounding. How about Memphis on the boards? They beat Clemson on the glass 34-33, and we know Memphis has had issues rebounding this season so far. And like you mentioned, Ian Shefflin, he leads the NCAA in rebounds per game, something like, or at least he's up there, if I remember correctly.
Yeah, he only had 6. 6? Oh, yeah. 6. He got one in overtime, 5 in regulation.
Yeah, so Memphis, great job on the boards. They needed it against Locken and against Shefflin, and they won the rebounding battle. They won the assist battle, and turnovers were still an issue as always. But the intangible stuff, the stuff that you still need to do really well to win basketball games, Memphis did a great job of. No question.
I asked Penny in the midweek press conference, asked him for 2 stats that he looks at that he thinks impacts winning more than anything, and he said 2 things. Roman,
rebounding and turnovers. That's what it was.
So part of that is, he said rebounding and turnovers, and obviously against Clemson, you have to be able to rebound the ball. They're just a dominant rebounding team. Tigers ended up winning that battle, which is just a huge stat. One of the stats, if the Tigers had lost this game, we would have been in here, and I would have said, the stat that I'm looking at that tells me why they lost this game was points off of turnovers. That Clemson was up 23-12 late into the second half. Points off turnovers. They ended the game. It was 23-21. Clemson got 2 more points off turnovers. Tigers only turned the ball over once in the last 10 minutes of regulation and in the overtime, and they only lost the turnover battle by 3. And that was if you had told me if the Tigers had ultimately lost this game, I would have looked at the turnovers and points off turnovers and said that's the reason why. And the fact that they were able to close that gap was in the last half of the second half and in the overtime is what I think won them that game. So
yeah, I agree. I think that's a really good shout. I think you got to give credit to the veterans of this team. This team is experienced as hell. This is a very experienced roster from top to bottom. This is big time experience in other conferences. Hell, I mean, Colby Rogers was a big reason why Memphis lost to Wichita State. So this team is full of guys who have high level experience, and this is another overtime win against a really good ranked team. Obviously, first one was against UConn, and it was kind of a different script because obviously against UConn was the one who made the comeback, forced overtime, and Memphis responded to UConn's comeback. Today it was the opposite. Clemson was the one up, and Memphis had to make the comeback, but they forced overtime, and they still won the game in overtime. So I think you see some real maturity down the stretch in these big games. That is, I think, a really good sign that this team is different from last year's team. It's different from teams in the past. It's the $1 million question, right? That everyone's been discussing over the past week since they lost to Arkansas State. Is this team different from last year's team? And the jury's still out, but I've been saying that it is. I've been saying it is for a while. I think people who follow this team and watch every moment, I think they can see that this team still looks different. Now, I want to see how they play in the conference, obviously, but I think you see the signs of this team being legit. Do you all agree, or do you still want to pump the brakes?
I mean, it's hard to argue that a team isn't legit when they have 4 quad 1 wins in 10 games.
Yeah.
I mean, you can't say they're not legit. It's hard to say they're not legit when they have a top 5 scorer in Division 1 and 2 other guards who look to be, very elite at what they do. Particularly Tyrese, who's also arguably one of the better guards in the country. So, I mean, when you're getting guard play the way that Memphis is, and you're beating the teams that Memphis is beating, the only argument to say that they're not legit right now is people are just getting deja vu from last season that is, in my opinion, currently kind of unfounded. I mean, I understand the concerns with that, and we'll find out what those truly are when the time comes in AAC play. But right now, in the middle of the non-conference schedule, where Memphis has the resume it has, it's completely unfair to say they're not legit at this point.
And I think again, what most people would say is that the Tigers have zero margin of error, especially in games. I have no doubt that they're going to play. They're going to get up and play very well for these harder, more Power 5 / quad 1 wins. They are quad 1 games. They get up and they play well for those kinds of games. It's that dud of an Arkansas State game. Like, let's be frank about it. And I know we said we're going to let it go and not talk about it. Arkansas State had 50 media members at that game this week at the FedEx Forum. I was talking to an SID at the University of Memphis who told me that she got more phone calls and requests by media from Jonesboro than any media outlet or any city's media team than in any time she's ever been an SID. It was their Super Bowl. And you're starting to see it even now with some AAC teams that are starting to promote the Memphis game that they have at their home arena in a month. They got to, like, it's
you gotta
crazy.
understand for those teams, it's the biggest game they'll host all year, so they have to do that.
100%.
They got to make sure the students show up at those games. Like
100%.
Promoting it that heavily that far out is the only way you're going to get students there.
And I agree with that. But my thing is, and the reason why I'm saying that is because that is I think the biggest fear is that college games, college basketball in general, college teams have those ups and downs games. Like there's going to be nights where they're not playing their best. And I think that is a byproduct of a lot going on. There's a byproduct of busy lives and a lot of practice, all this kind of stuff that they have going on. And it's about how do you, even when it's not the most high profile game and on ESPN Plus and not on national TV and maybe on CBS Sports, whatever it is, how do you get up for those games? And how do you make sure you don't let go of the rope during those games, like this Arkansas State game? That I think is, if we're having the conversation around, is this Tigers team legit? There's no doubt that they're a good team. You don't shoot the ball as well as they do, have the team that they have the resume that Roman has talked about that they have, and be a fraud. They're not frauds. They're a good team. It's just making sure you don't let go of the rope against a Tulane,
East Carolina,
or East Carolina, or a Rice, and go and then all of the stuff that you've done in your non-conference kind of goes out the door because you lose that game. You just can't.
It's kind of an unfair situation.
It is.
In a way, to be honest, because the AAC schedule is full of landmines. And no other high major program, and that's what Memphis is. They are a high major college basketball program. Like, anyone who says they're a mid-major school in basketball is extremely misguided. But they are the only high major program, really, besides Gonzaga, that has to deal with this. And Gonzaga has an established culture that's been going on for 20 plus years. Memphis doesn't have that. And when you're in a situation where every single game you play in your conference can only hurt you, it's just you're bound to end up with a worse reputation and worse resume than you would otherwise have. So
Yes.
I mean, it's a difficult thing to deal with, and obviously it was something that last year's team couldn't overcome, and we'll see if this year's team can, and I think they will.
I think they will too.
But overall, yeah, it's a pretty unfair situation, as Kenny was saying, I think.
I mean, fair and unfair. It is what it is. It just is what it is. Like and I agree with Roman. I do think that, there's not many high major programs that have to have that deal with this same kind of like conference schedule where it's like every game you play is a Super Bowl for the other team. I've kind of always scoffed at that. And just kind of been like, man, just man up and play basketball. But it's a real thing, I think. I really do believe it's a real thing. When you are the Super Bowl for every team that you play against in conference, and the way you put it, Roman, is so perfect. All of those games can't help you. They can only hurt you. God bless, man. Like, it is an unenviable position, which is why Penny has the schedule he has in the non-conference. Because I think it is easy to see what this team can become. They can be a very good team. And I think they are a very good team. It's just making sure they don't step on a landmine in January.
If Memphis were playing a conference schedule that had real teams and real quad one opportunities in it, they'd pretty much be locked into the NCAA tournament right now. The only reason they're not is because they have to get through this entire AAC schedule where they could potentially lose a bunch of quad 3 and 4 games. That's really it. Like, if it weren't for that, they'd be pretty much locked into the tournament already with what they've done so far.
It's crazy.
Yeah, but you can, and we talked about this, Roman, after they lost to Arkansas State, about where you thought that how far Memphis would fall in the bracketology, and they didn't fall that far. And Lenard had him 6th, right, Roman?
They dropped them from a 4 to a 6.
So that's
pretty fair. It's pretty fair.
That's really fair, and that should be evidence of this team being actually a good team. Because if they lose to Arkansas State to have a loss like that, and they only drop 2 seeds in a bracket, that's impressive. That's good, and that should show people the strength of the resume that Memphis has already built. I think every win in the non-conference, it's like a win in the bank that Memphis will just keep banking up wins. So when they get into a conference, that if they lose a game against Rice, if they lose a game against East Carolina or whatever, they have these non-conference wins that they can rely on when they come into March. Now, the hope is that they don't implode like they did last year. They don't lose way too many conference games like they did last year. But I think this is what teams like Memphis and Gonzaga, like y'all said, Gonzaga, they have to build these non-conference schedules. You look at Gonzaga's schedule too; they only play heavy hitters in the non-conference. They schedule really hard teams. They play UConn today. Like they play really good teams every time. And so Memphis and Gonzaga are in very similar situations. I echo everything y'all said. The points are incredibly well founded. So
yeah. I think it is crazy, like how awesome. I do think one thing that's helping the Tigers this year is that the teams that they have beat, those 4 quad 1 games, the teams that they have beat so far in these first 10 have actually gone on and won some games that they shouldn't have already. And whether they're back being ranked or they're, whatever, like Michigan State's had a couple of really good wins. UConn is back in the top 25. They're playing Gonzaga tonight. Imagine if UConn were to win that game against Gonzaga tonight. And you just go, okay, because last year, let's not forget, last year the Tigers had that same kind of 15-2 non-conference schedule where I think it was going into January, had won a lot of games. And then
but part of the reason they ended up missing the tournament, they blew it in conference, but it was also because all their non-conference wins that were perceived to be big at the time, they kind of blew it. For the
Missouri, Arkansas, Michigan,
they all fell apart. The only one that really held up was Clemson. And even they were in kind of shaky standing by
they made a run.
Sunday.
They made a run
to the Elite Eight, but by Selection Sunday, they still weren't in the best of standings. They were only like 30 something in the net.
It's true.
So,
Missouri beat
Kansas. Schedule kind of fell apart as well. We got to remember that.
Here's the opposite. Missouri beat Kansas. UConn. They didn't have a great Maui, but they've found their form back. Michigan State is still a good team. Auburn's going to be a top 5 team the entire season. I'm very confident in that. So that loss it's like whatever. And I think Clemson's going to be good in the ACC. So this one will hold up as well, in my opinion. So yeah, that's a very good.
They're not good in the ACC. It'd be a travesty. The ACC is bad this year.
Yeah, exactly. So I think these wins will hold up.
Yeah, I'm kind of in agreement with Black Ninja DJ. I think we need to kind of, and we do this a lot because it is kind of the narrative around Tiger fans. We are completely tuned in with what Tiger fans are saying and the comments that are being made with our Discord, with Twitter, with all that kind of stuff. It's almost overwhelming at points, but that is the conversation is the comparison between last year and this year. And I think at some point that conversation needs to stop. I'm in agreement with Black Ninja DJ. I think it's time for us to move on and value this team for what they are and who they are right now. Not compare. We got Nick Jourdain is the only guy from last year's team on this team. Like, it's time to move on and go, okay, this team is different. This team is absolutely different.
I mean, to me, the conversation can't truly stop until we see how this team reacts to the AAC schedule. I mean, this is a big resume building opportunity, obviously, but we're not going to find out who this team truly is until we get to the American schedule, because that is what ultimately defined last season, and it's what will define this one as well, probably.
Yep.
Yeah,
agreement.
I think it will. We were entering. I remember at this point last year entering conference play, there were people saying that, oh, they could go undefeated in conference play and like la di da, and that's obviously not what happened.
No.
And this year, if they stay hot, if they're a top 15 team entering conference play, you're going to hear from people saying like, oh, they could run the table, they could do all this. Are they going to? Probably not, no matter how good they play in the non-conference. So yeah, it is still, I think, too early to definitively state that this team is 1,000,000% different from last year's team, because we just got to see what they do in conference. I'm with you, Roman. No question.
I think it's more so it's not even just a comparison. It's the hand wringing all the time, right? It's the one bad stretch of game happens and it's like, you know what I'm saying? Like, this is last year.
Yeah, because that's exactly how it started last year. Like we dismissed across the board. Oh, they barely beat Vanderbilt. They barely beat Austin Peay. They barely beat UTSA. Barely beat Tulsa. And then eventually that spiraled into what we saw throughout January, February, and March. So I think that's what people are seeing right there. It's difficult to dismiss individual games when doing that is exactly what led to what happened last year.
Roman, dude, you were like batting 1,000 today in terms of the points made. Like, I mean, I don't disagree with you. It's exactly what happened last year. Like, so, yes, you're right. I do. I mean, I don't disagree with you. I really appreciate this team, and I think that this team. I think even coming into this season, I was like, I like this team. I think this team is going to be good. I haven't even seen them play yet, but I think this team is going to be good. They have what you need. They have my personal favorite player from last year's team is still here in Nick Jourdain, even though he had a rough game today. Nick is a connector of whatever you need him to do, he can do. And I like that about his game. I've always liked his game. And I just think, when you have a guy like PJ Haggerty and you have a guy like Tyrese Hunter and a shooter like Colby Rogers, man, it's very, very tough. Very tough.
Yeah.
Wayne Kelly says Roman needs Juan Soto money. Man, listen.
Damn right I do.
I wish, man. Listen, dude. If Roman gets Juan Soto money, man, 750 million, isn't that what you? Yeah, we'll get you that.
Yeah. I'll gladly bat ninth for the Mets. I'll gladly do that.
There you go. Someone called Juan Soto. I saw a picture of him in a Mets uniform, and someone commented and said Bartolo Colon looks awesome out there. I was like, damn.
Hey, I'm not the biggest baseball guy, but I know we have a lot of Mets fans in the Memphis area because they were apparently shown on TV a lot back in the day.
Yeah.
So, congratulations to y'all. I mean, that's a big
15 years, 750. Woo!
It's a lot of money.
Woo!
It's a lot of money. I'm putting whenever my wife and I have kids, I'm putting a soccer ball at their feet and a baseball bat in their hands. That's the two it. That's what I'm doing. Those are the two sports.
Never lie.
I love basketball, but
no hoops for them. No hoops for them.
I mean, I would love for them to play basketball. I would absolutely love it. But baseball, soccer, the money, come on.
Francis is thinking about his retirement. That's what he's thinking about. He's thinking about retirement and living large is what he's thinking. Yeah, that baseball money is dumb. That baseball money is dumb.
It's nuts. But to your point, Kenny, I think this team, we also know what this team is in terms of identity as well. There's a clear identity to this roster. They have 3 guards who are absolutely elite, 3-headed guard monster. They have Nick Jourdain, who is a connector, who's Mr. Do-It-All, who just has to keep playing within himself. I'm not a fan of Nick Jourdain in transition, just running down the floor for basically no reason. I'm not a fan of that. I don't want that to happen. I want Nick Jourdain to play within himself. And if he does that, I think he's going to be as impactful as he should be for the team. Then you have Cece and Danger. Penny ran out the Twin Tower lineup today, and I thought they were great on the defensive side. They did a great job neutralizing, or did what they could against Lock-In, and they shut down Shefflin. That Twin Tower lineup on defense, like they were legit, especially on the boards too. Did a great job on the boards. And then if you get contribution from a Koji who had that big end one, like you said, you get something from PJ Carter when he gets in the game. If Memphis can get something more from those two dudes, then I think this is a very well-rounded team. But at the very least, there is a clear identity with the top 6 of this roster that I think is why you can really have confidence in this team on a night in, night out basis. I really believe that.
I have a question for you, and this is for both of y'all. Do y'all think that moving forward, that could the Tigers offense benefit from running through Dane more? Timo came in and said, I still think we need to get more post looks into Dane and work our way out with open threes. I mean, you've seen what Dane is able to do. I mean, that touch pass to PJ under the basket was so sick, dude. So sick. But he's shown that willingness and ability to not only make really decisive, hard moves to the basket, over his shoulder. He had a little lefty fadeaway jump hook that didn't go down, but dude, it just clean.
Yeah, well, hey, don't forget the Colby Rogers 3 to cut the 5-point lead to 2 for Clemson was a Danger find.
Right,
Danger found Colby when Dane was in the paint and just ditched it out to Colby for the open corner 3. And that was a great find, especially in that moment where Dane could have forced the shot, whatever. But that was a great find by Dane. But Roman, go ahead.
They have a lot of optionality with their offense in terms of how they run things. They do a lot of stuff on the 3. They do a lot of like guard on guard, picks and they do a lot of flare screens and things like that. But would you like to see them run their offense through Dane a little bit more and allow him to either facilitate or go to the basket? Roman, you first.
Yeah, you see, Dane for me is the biggest reason why I seriously doubt the Tigers have peaked at this point, because if Memphis were at its peak right now, Dane would be averaging about 15 points a game. I mean, that's how talented of a post scorer I believe he is. I mean, I think he needs more opportunities because he simply made the most of the limited chances that he's gotten. I mean, at the end of the day, this team is always going to have to be revolving around its guard play because that's where it's the talent and the personnel and the scheming is just that. But Dane is a pretty talented big man. He's a very, very special type of post scorer. Probably the best post scorer that Penny has had in his tenure. I think he's everything that we widely expected Jordan Brown to be last season. I think that's exactly what he's been so far. And he needs more opportunities. And the good thing about playing, some of these weaker opponents in the AAC, that does give you, I think, a bit more leeway to maybe try some of those things in the future over those next few months. And the hope is that by the time you get through that schedule and you get to the NCAA tournament, you'll fully know what you're doing with Danger up to that point. And that, coupled with the guard play that you're getting right now, that is what could potentially lead to, Memphis getting to the second weekend and what have you.
Yeah, I'm with the points. I love the points both of y'all made. What makes this Tiger offense not at its ceiling yet, it's because of the optionality that they have. Like I've said this many times before. I talked about it with Kenny, you and Matt Infield, that this team has so many different ways to score the basketball. If they're not turning the ball over, this is a really good offense, y'all. because they can score on multiple levels. They can score from three, they can score the mid range, they can score in the paint, and they can. We've seen it today. We saw it against UConn. We saw it against Michigan State. They have multiple ways to score the ball if they're not turning the ball over, and Dane Danger is one of those ways because he's such a cerebral basketball player. He knows where everyone is on the floor. He's so good with his footwork. He can finish with both hands, right, left. It doesn't matter. He's a great passer in the post. He's a very smart basketball player. So I'm with Roman. I would love to see him get more touches. And I think, as you said, with the schedule that they have in the AAC, I think they're going to find ways to get him the ball more. And if they can if they can get Danger, like you said, Roman, to 15 points a game, which he can, like I think he can get to that point. Man, like this, I'm with you. This, I don't think they've reached their offensive ceiling, and it's because of the turnovers. If they can lessen those turnovers per game, if they can find a way to get that to like 10 a game, then I think that offense can really take off.
Yeah, no doubt. I do think I agree with what Roman and Penny has talked about this. Penny talked about how he kind of his ultimate vision for his offense is being able to run the ball through the post. Again, you see, even with we talk about the guard play and how good it is. One of the things that's underrated about the guard play, and especially with a guy like Colby Rogers and a guy like Tyrese, is their ability, their footwork coming off of screens, of flare screens to the paint from the post. They're pretty elite with that. Colby's balance and his ability to absorb contact and still be up in his form is pretty elite. And that, if you remember last year, during conference play, they introduced a new wrinkle into their offense with Nick, where they would bring the ball to the high post with Nick and allow the guards to kind of rub screens off of him, and he would facilitate off the bounce or through a pass. I could legitimately see them doing that with Dane quite a bit this especially during conference play. I mean, it's a long season, so I'm sure they're going to constantly be adding new wrinkles to the offense. And I do think that one of those will be facilitating through Dane. I think that's going to be an interesting wrinkle, and I think it might unlock some things that that will help the Tigers as they move forward into the tournament time.
Yeah, I'm with you. I think I'm excited to see how Danger gets incorporated as the season goes throughout, because he's a really good player. He was a big pickup in the portal. People were really high on the pickup, and I think he's been as good as advertised, if not even better. Your point about Colby and balance, I love Colby. He's always balanced with his shot. His footwork's awesome. He kind of gives me Chris Crawford vibes. I'm sure y'all remember Chris Crawford. Chris Crawford was a lethal shooter out there, and Chris did a great job of coming off screens and always being balanced when he rose up to shoot. Same thing with Colby Rogers. Colby he's a cold-blooded guy. So let's look ahead, and then we can get up out of here. So they got games. Memphis has games they go at Virginia on the 18th. That's at 6 p.m. on ESPN2. And then they play Mississippi State December 21st at 11:30 a.m. on CBS. And then Ole Miss also at home December 28th, 1 p.m. on ESPN2. I asked y'all before, what are your predictions for Memphis over this stretch of 4 games? I said 3-1. Kenny, you were the Debbie Downer. You said 2-2. Roman, you said 3-1. Am I wrong?
I did.
Okay,
and Clemson
3-1.
was the game I had them losing.
So Clemson was one of those 2 losses. So I will say that.
Yeah.
So I'm gonna call you out. 3 games against really good teams. One of them on the road against Virginia. What are y'all saying? Give me some give me a prediction.
The game at Virginia is the one I'm least concerned about if I'm Memphis.
If I'm Memphis, yeah, I'm saying.
Theoretically.
Dude, Virginia is still, I think, last or close to last in pace in the country, and that just doesn't bode well against a team like Memphis. No. We saw it last year, and I think we'll see something similar again. Virginia, I just don't think they have the talent, nor the speed or the athleticism or the pace to really play with a team like Memphis for 40 minutes. If Virginia is to beat Memphis would have to have a really bad shooting day, and I just don't really foresee that happening. So I think they end up winning that pretty handedly. And then, I mean, they could lose to one of the Mississippi schools, but losing to Mississippi State or Ole Miss in front of a packed FedEx Forum, that's also just difficult for me to envision. Again, I had them going 3-1, but that was with a loss today at Clemson. So according to my current projections, they're on track to go 4-0 here.
There we go. All right, Kenny.
All right, I'm going to change my because like I said, like I'm with Roman. I'm with Roman. My one of my two losses was the Clemson game, and the fact that they went on the road and beat a tough top 20 ranked team in the country, in their arena. That's tough. It's tough, man. Like the Tigers don't lose much at the FedEx Forum, and
they don't, especially against big opponents.
Against big opponents.
The last time a ranked team beat Memphis at the Forum, I'd have to go back and check, but I know it's been a while. I know it's been a while.
I'll say this: hasn't Ole Miss beat the Tigers 2 years running, both in Memphis and
no, they beat them in Memphis in 22-23, and then they lost at Ole Miss last year.
Didn't they lose? So didn't they lose the year prior to that?
No, the Ole Miss has never beaten Memphis at Memphis under Penny.
Yeah.
The last time that happened, I believe that was with Pastner.
Wow. Okay. So maybe I thought Ole Miss had won two straight, one in Memphis and one at home.
They haven't. No.
Okay. I'm gonna go 3-1 because I think they'll beat Mississippi State. I think they'll beat Virginia. No, actually, you know what? I'll switch it. I think that they will beat Virginia. I think that they will beat Ole Miss.
Okay.
And I think that they might lose to Mississippi State.
No, if they lose here, I think it will be Mississippi State because Mississippi State, I think, has the biggest matchup problem overall for Memphis. If you look at the three teams, I mean, I don't think they'll lose any of them, but if they are going to lose one, I think it will be against Mississippi State.
Yeah, they have. Mississippi State has.
Mississippi State, I believe, is top 10 in the net as well. Ole Miss ain't there.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, they're good.
I think Mississippi State is better than Ole Miss at this point. Ole Miss is good, but I think Mississippi State is better.
I'm looking at it. I haven't watched. I'll be frank with you. I haven't watched any of Mississippi State, so I don't know what they have. But
they have this guard Josh Hubbard who scores 19 a game, and they also have this 6'11" big who's pretty good too.
Okay, well. So I'll go 3-1. I'll go 3-1 with a very clear, like they could easily go 4-0. I think you get concerned about games like, a Virginia game where you're on the road. But I just don't think Virginia's very good. I think that them losing Tony Bennett, they've lost pretty much every single player from their team last year that was any good. They're 6-4 on the year. They're 10th in the AAC or ACC this year. I just don't think that they are. I think they're absolutely in that. We still run the same shit that Tony Bennett ran, but we don't have Tony Bennett coaching it. I think that's kind of where they're at.
Well, they got blown up in Memphis with Tony Bennett coaching it last year.
That's true.
I think it comes down to a lack of talent more so than anything on Virginia's part. Virginia just has not been able to recruit in the NIL era, and that has severely hurt it.
Yeah.
I mean,
so I think
not to like disparage Tony Bennett, but the reason he retired was because he couldn't hang in the NIL era of college basketball. He couldn't handle it. That's why he retired. And I think maybe Virginia under a new coach will adjust and bounce back. But right now, they're just in a tough spot.
Yep. So I think they beat Virginia. I think they could. I think they will lose one of the Mississippi State or Ole Miss games.
Okay.
And then go 3-1 in that 4 game stretch.
I can easily see that. I don't think they will, but I can easily see that. I mean, they can lose to Virginia, but I think it would take very specific circumstances for them to lose to a team like Virginia that I think they match up extremely well against, considering how fast they play and how athletic they are compared to Virginia.
Yep.
I'm with it. I'm gonna be positive. I'm gonna be with Roman. So I'll be the deciding judge for this one too, and I'm going with Roman, and I'm going to pick him to run the gauntlet to go 3-0 and to go 4-0 in this stretch of games too. I think Penny will have these boys ready to go, up for all of these games. I don't think there'll be a dud against Virginia. I think they beat them, hopefully handily, but I think they definitely beat them. I understand. Don't overlook them. Don't underestimate any team. I see all in the comments. I'm with you. We're all with you on that for sure. They still got to show up. They still got to play their basketball. But I have faith that they will, and they'll go into Virginia and get their dub. And I think Penny will have them up for 2 games against nearby rivals, very nearby rivals, especially Ole Miss. So I think this. I have confidence. I have faith in the Tigers.
I'll say this about it. I'll say this: don't underestimate anybody, but I'd also say don't underestimate the Tigers and what they do well. They are a very good team. And
as far as I'm concerned, I can overestimate or underestimate anyone I want to. My only job is to write and report and come on here after games. That's what I can do.
Belt to ass. I like it, Roman. Roman's on fire today, Francis. What do we get it?
I love it. We need more early tip-offs.
We need an early tip-off, Roman, man.
Yeah, he's awake. He had his coffee. He's going. This is fantastic.
I don't drink coffee. I think coffee's gross.
You're crazy.
Coffee is gross.
Well, that's the hottest take he's had all day, Kenny. Right there.
Coffee is gross.
He was batting 1,000. Now he's batting at least 750. He's off on that.
Yeah.
I just hit a 500-yard home run.
Hey,
500 yard. That's a long one. That's
really far.
500 feet. Excuse me. Yeah, 500 feet.
Damn, Roman. Roman's on that Mark McGuire train.
Oh, yeah, Barry Bonds with all the damn. Yeah, he bulked up heavy. No, the last thing I'll say, I heard everyone talking about the Memphis media basketball thing.
Yeah, man.
I saw y'all on the Anthony Sain show, Kenny. You and Paris talking about it. And y'all are hilarious. Y'all are fantastic. That was such an awesome show. And so I'm saying if y'all need, I'll fly to Memphis and I'll be all shooter. I may not be the best Hoover in Memphis media, but I am the best shooter in Memphis media. I will stamp that now. I'll stamp it on air to all of y'all watching this show. I'm the best shooter in Memphis media. All of y'all can come at me for that.
Yeah. Munz and I will be the water boys.
Munz and Romy reporting on the sideline, tweeting it. We've been talking, man. We've been talking. There's some communication. There might be. We're aiming because we want to give some of these old dudes like myself a chance to get back into basketball shape, right? So we're thinking maybe a post NCAA tournament live stream where we have media outlet 3-on-3.
Oof. I'm in, man. That sounds
and
awesome.
Where we live stream it, and we're thinking about naming it in honor of Jessica Benson's Achilles tendon. That's what we're thinking because of her injury. So we've already. I will say this: we got Jessica Benson and Anthony Sain lined up to commentate the live stream. So that would be pretty awesome.
Oh man, let's do it. That'll be sick. That'll be sick. Yeah. But yeah, Kenny, Roman, y'all are awesome. Great win for the Tigers today. Any closing thoughts before we head up out of here?
I mean, I think we've pretty much gone over and rehashed what we can rehash. I mean, it's just a massive win for Memphis here. I mean, not necessarily needed in terms of the long-term outlook of the season from a psychological and mental perspective. You can definitely argue that Memphis kind of had to come in here and win this one after taking the tilt they did against Arkansas State. I mean, this is a quad 1A win. I mean, the best type of quad 1 you can get, which I think almost erases, if not completely erases, the quad 3 loss that you took against Arkansas State. And now they have a chance to, build even further upon that in these next 3 games with a quad 2 on Wednesday and then 2 more quad 1s at home. And
then let's not forget, starting off conference play, probably the 2, I would say, dangerous teams for the Tigers in AAC conference, and FAU on the road and North Texas coming to Memphis. It's interesting.
At Wichita later in the year will be tough too.
It'll be tough too. Yeah, that'll be tough. I'm not afraid of UAB whatsoever.
No,
they suck.
UAB is so bad.
They're so bad.
That team is Yaxel. That team cannot shoot at all.
Dude, they're so bad. Dude, they're so bad. Listen, I don't normally talk trash.
I have so much respect for Andy.
Shut
Kennedy.
up, Kenny.
I have so much respect for Andy Kennedy, but it's he has put himself in a real pickle with not building around Yaxel, the way he probably needed to here.
The way their offense runs, they don't run the ball through. Yaxel just floats to the 3-point line. I'm like, bro, you are 6'9", 6'10". You're a monster. Get in the paint against these bums. And he's just out there just float. I'm like, brother, Andy, do something, man. Like,
I think UAB has lost like 2 or 3 quad 4 games.
Oh,
it's not great.
They're so bad.
Yeah, Kenny, don't gaslight us and do that. Don't do that, man. don't get up here. Not on this show. Woo! I don't talk shit. All right, bro.
Listen, man. I don't talk a gang of stuff, man. I'm good. I don't talk at all.
Well,
UAB is 0-3 in the third quadrant, and they've lost 2 games in quad 4, and they haven't won a game outside of quad 4. They haven't beaten one quad 3 team yet this year.
And guess what? For the rest of the year, they don't have another. They don't have a quad 2, quad 1 game the rest of the year outside of Memphis.
Yeah, quad 1 at Memphis, and that's it. They're 217th in the net. Yeah, they went from the preseason favorite to win the American over Memphis to 217th in the net,
which we all know at this point was BS, absolute garbage.
I didn't get it then, and I especially don't get it now. Like,
TJ Willis.
I understand that Memphis has blown opportunities to win the league in the past, but come on, man. Like that was clear as day. The coaches in the American were going to pick anybody other than Memphis to win the league, and that's.
And TJ Willis said it perfectly in Tigers Untapped when that came out. He said that is their way of protesting Penny Hardaway because they don't believe he can do it. It's not the team. That vote was specifically because they think Andy Kennedy is a better coach than Penny Hardaway. That's what that was.
And
good luck with that.
And they might be right or wrong, but at the end of the day, like when you look at those 2 teams and the 2 rosters, and you legitimately pick UAB to win the league over a Memphis team that has PJ Haggerty and Tyrese Hunter,
it's crazy.
I just don't see how you rationalize that.
Timo said, boy, I'd love to have Yaxel on this team. Yeah.
Good.
That would certainly be ideal.
And I think Yaxel would like to be on this team. I'll be frank with you on that.
Yeah, that was the only handshake magic that Penny couldn't work. You know, that handshake lineup magic that Penny's known for. But Kenny, Roman, y'all are the best.
Y'all hit that like button.
Hey, everyone, hit that like button. Subscribe to Bluff City Media. Everyone on this whole media network, they're all fantastic. They put out amazing content. Kenny is Mr. Do-It-All. He does every single show. Kenny's everywhere.
Yeah,
literally.
Brevin Knight asked me the other day on the night court. I produced that show, and he was like, "What? Where can we find you on Bluff City Media?" And I was like, I just kind of pop up everywhere, man. I don't know. I'm wherever I'm needed to be.
Kenny floats, and Roman does everything awesome for covering the beat for Memphis Tigers. Y'all find him everywhere. Game recaps, everything. You're doing a phenomenal job, Roman.
Catch him at Starbucks where he drinks his morning coffee and writes his articles.
No, I am not a coffee shop writer. No, I am. I typically might write most of my stuff in the middle of the night. I'm going to be honest.
Oh my gosh!
Especially those previews.
Oh my God! This is
most of my previews are probably finished at around 4:00 in the morning. I'm just going to be honest there.
All right, we keep hijacking Francis's outro. My bad, brother. Keep going.
No, that's okay. Yeah, everybody, like I said, subscribe to Bluff City Media, like the show, comment to everyone who tuned in. Thank you all for being here. Y'all are the best. Until next time, y'all. Peace.
Thank you for listening to this episode of Tigers Live. If you enjoyed this episode, like and subscribe to Bluff City Media's YouTube page. For comprehensive coverage of all things Memphis sports, head over to www.bluffcitymedia.co and find out how you can become an insider. We will see you back here next time.